Hello. Am I audible? Hello. 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 Am I audible? Hello. 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 Am I audible? Hello. Hello. Hmm. Hello. Alok.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening. Hello. Are you? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we'll start. Good evening.
Sir, please
Now.
wait up to 5. Wait for 5 minutes, so other will also come.
Okay.
So we
Okay.
can
Okay.
continue, sir.
Okay. Please contact with them. Thanks. Please. Please. Ludo. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Ludo. Hmm.
Yes, sir.
Huh. Uh,
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening. We'll start.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hmm. Huh. Okay. Now, we'll start from Unit 8. Major development in post-economic reform period. Major development in post-economic reform period.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Am I audible? Huh. The post-economic reform period in India has seen some remarkable development. Economic growth has been a significant highlight, with India's GDP growth growing consistently over the years. Another major development has been the Make in India initiatives launched in 2014. You know, Make in India and Make in Odisha, in the Odisha context, there is a program which is going on, developmental program, which aims to transform India into a global manufacturing hub. This initiative has led to a consistent increase in foreign direct investment inflows and has boosted employment generation.
Your voice is breaking
The
down,
goods
sir.
and services tax is implemented in
Sir,
2017. Has
please
also,
put the mic little bit
okay.
far from your mouth so we can. Please, sir.
Others are coming. Acha. The goods and services tax regime implemented in 2017 has also been a significant development, streamlining the indirect tax system and fostering business is and tax compliances. It, and also there is a great change. There is a great change in service sector with the development of IT, finance, and tourism sector. Increased focus on renewable energy, improved ease of doing business. That this was the summary, and now we'll discuss in detail. You know, the turn of the century was when a new narrative about to independent India began to take root internationally. The most continuous of all economic reform measures since 1991 is disinvestment. Disinvestment and privatization have been two policies common to all central governments since 1991. The economic reforms initiated in the country provide the policy in environment towards public-private partnerships in infrastructure development. Then, insolvency is a complex subject. Bankruptcy laws accept that business ventures can fail and allow entrepreneurs to get a fresh start. The passage of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code in May 2016 was a key reform which is said to alter the relationship between debtors and creditors. Given this backdrop, the more general narrative of India economic reform since 1991 discussed earlier, this unity will discuss various facets of three ongoing debates having repercussion in the performance of Indian economy, and these are privatization and restructuring of public sector, then public-private partnership, and insolvency and bankruptcy code. Privatization, the concept of privatization in fact to be understood not merely in the structure sense of who owns an enterprise, but in the substantive sense of how far the operations of an enterprise being brought in the discipline of market forces. Then come to the, as per the V.B. Ramanathan, 1989, privatization is a term that is employed to convey a variety of ideas. The idea that it must permanently suggest is that of denationalization. This was the version of V.B. Ramanathan. Difference between disinvestment and privatization. In privatization, full ownership is transferred to the strategic partner. In a broader sense, privatization refers to transfer of any government function to the private sector, including governmental functions like revenue collection and law enforcement. Investment means acquisition of certain assets. Disinvestment means the release of assets. A business may be that of a particular arm of it is not compatible with its core business, and hence may decide to sell or divest this business. The investment may be done for various economic or social reasons. Various forms of privatization vary in the extent to which they move ownership, finance, and accountability out of the public sector. Then need for privatization. You know, from 1991, and the India industrial policy is considered as a persecutor of economic reforms, which brought a change in the approach towards public sector undertakings. In the affairs of the public sector, it has been a game of politics throughout, and still is, despite the talk of structural adjustments, economic reforms. Some of the important factors leading to the need for privatization are privatization. Public sector undertakings in India have no autonomy. Then public sector undertakings have many objectives imposed in them, some of which affect their efficiency and profitability, imposed by the government. Ownership should not matter to perform. Then it is important to note that there are limitations being government as a owner. Then public sector managers who perform better in the laboratory circumstances of private sector enterprises have been known to complain that they are crippled by various regulations in a public sector entity. Private sector, when they want to stand, then want to rise. Some of the leading important factors, these are the important factors in relation to their efficiency. Privatization per se don't lead to efficiency. Day control is probably a more important principle that privatization and many other supposed positive attributes of privatization can be imparted to public enterprise. In India, wholesale transfer of assets to private sector both on the grounds of efficiency and equity is not easy acceptable. Then disinvestment. Disinvestment in India in any public enterprises was proposed as a policy option in the industrial policy statement of July 1991. The government will divest its equity in piecemeal. Reforms in public sector undertakings have taken many forms, ranging from privatization to subjecting them to a hard budget constraint, introducing competition to turning up financial sector. Then, as per the government constitutes a 5-member public sector disinvestment commission under the chairmanship of Sri G.V. Ramakrishna in August 1994 for drawing long-term disinvestment program for the public sector undertakings report to the commission. Then the commission submitted a dozen reports suggesting a slew of measures including strategy sale, equity sale and closure. Then the process of disinvestment has evolved from public offering of shares to strategic sale of equity to selective partners to complete asset selling. The strategic sale method confirms a better valuation and paves the way for a technological upgradation of the target company. The main disadvantage of the sale minority stakes has been lower realization as management control is not transferred. Minority sales also give the impression that the main objective of the government is to raise funds for reducing its fiscal deficit and not to improve performance or governance. Then come to the problems related to disinvestment process or modes. Controversies abound with regard to the mode of disinvestment. Ultimately, the issues related to disinvestment revolve under 3 questions: why, how, and how much. As per the Dr. G.S. Gupta 1988 has pointed out that the question of how to privatize raises which approach is the best for which unit. Are various approaches substitute complementary? How to motivate the politicians, bureaucrats, employees towards privatization? When to sell assets, equity? How to value assets, equity? What proportion of equity sell? Then does privatization fetch a sustainable revenue? How to close in the absence of exit policy? How to subsequent privatization? Would disinvestment a crowd out to private investment? Then, as per these problems are very complex and it is not possible to find out one easy way to out. Abhijit Rai in 2002 has observed that Indian opinion seems to be divided into 2 camps. The private say that the government has no business to be in business. Hence, divestment is the only way out. The other camp holds the view that the government should not hand over the family silver to crooks and charlatans who dominated Indian business. Then, lessons of privatization in other countries and the Indian experience support adoption of a pragmatic approach to privatization. Then come to the condiments for successful privatization policy. Then the mixed empirical evidence of Dr. Mahabub ul Haq has cautioned economies privatizing their public sector as part of a structural adjustment and economic reform program must bear in mind that they don't commit the 7 problems or 7 sins of privatization. The 7 sins of privatization or 7 problems, they are as per they are confused objectives. The objectives are not clear. Lack of transparency. There is a gap between the company and the government. There is no any transparency. There is a lack of transparency. Concentration of assets. Lack of competition. There is few competition. A poor financial strategy. Strategically, it is very poor. The dominance of fiscal objective to financing deficit and lack of political consensus. Efficiency and equity are the relevant objectives, and the success of privatization should be evaluated against the objectives. Then come to the public-private partnership. The expression of public-private partnership is a wide used concept world over, but is often not clearly defined. There is no single accepted international definition of what a PPP is, public-private partnership is. As per the World Bank 2006, a public-private partnership is a contract between a government body and a private entity with the goal of providing some public benefit, either an asset or a service. Then public partnership means an arrangement between the government statutory entity and a government owned entity on one side and a private sector entity on the other for the provision of public assets and or public services through investments being made or management being undertaken by the private sector entity for a specified period of time, where there is well defined allocation of risk between the private sector and the public entity, and the private entity receives performance linked payments that conform to specified and predetermined performance standards measured by the public entity or its representative. Then come to the PPP. The overarching objective of such partnership, different. The National Highway Act enacted 1956 was altered in 1995 to empower private support. In 1994, through a focused offering process, licenses were concentrated to 8 cellular telephone utility administrators in four metro urban areas and 14 administrators in 18 state circles. The overarching objective of such partnership are harness private sector efficiencies in asset creation, maintenance, and service delivery. Provide focus on life cycle approach for development of a project involving asset creation and maintenance over its life cycle. Madam, aଜ୍ଞା नमस्कार କୁହନ୍ତୁ। ହଁ 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 ଆଜ୍ଞା 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 ମୁଁ ଟିକେ କ୍ଲାସ୍ ନେଉଛି ଇଣ୍ଡିଆନ୍ ଇକୋନୋମି ମୁଁ କହିଛି ହଁ ଠିକ୍ ଅଛି କଥା ହେବା ହଁ ପାର୍ଟିସିପେସନ୍ ହଁ 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 ମ୍ୟାଡ଼ାମ୍ ନମସ୍କାର 7ଟା ହଁ 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 ନମସ୍କାର ହଁ ପ୍ଲିଜ୍। Hello, hello, hello. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes,
Create
sir.
opportunity. Hello. Huh. Create opportunity to bring in innovation and technological improvements and enable affordable and improved services to the users in a responsible and a sustainable manner. In short term, the main objectives of pursuing PPP model in India relate to the following: expansion and improved infrastructure. Understand? Expansion and improved infrastructure. The infrastructure facilities like a road, port, and other infrastructure has been developed. Risk sharing. Between the government and the company. Optimal resources. There is resources, all the resources like land, water, and forest, all the resources, optimum utilization. Innovations. There is some innovative technology adoption. Yet in growth of the other sectors, there is a interlinked one sector and another sector, and compare is a different sector. The catalyst for the economy, there is change. There is a model of change. In the economic sector, more employment generation, there will be a facilities for employment generation and poverty alleviation and income improvement of the income. Improves the image of the country. For the improvement of the image of the country, that is, for that is SDG goals. Improvement in SDG goals, sustainable development goals context. Then attract FDI, foreign direct investment attraction, through different objectives like improved infrastructure facilities and other facilities, that is aid, improved generation, all these things. Then come to the PPP models in India. PPP models, India follows 3 types of PPP models. Out of many models available there, hybrid annuity model. Or build, operate, transfer, engineer, procure, construct. These are the 3 models adopted in India for PPP mode. PPP take a wide range of forms varying in purpose, involvement of the private entity, legal structure, and risk sharing. The private sector participation in the infrastructure building have taken place broadly through corporatization of existing public sector undertakings. So corporation, understand? Corporation is Hello. 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 Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
sir.
हाँ,
Yes, sir. Audible.
initiative. हाँ, there is a network problem. Hmm. Government incentives for PPP. The government has facilitated for a public-private partnership sector by offering viability gap funding. Then India Infrastructure Project Development Fund, India Infrastructure Finance Company, then foreign direct investment. The proposal shall include the requisite information necessary for satisfying the eligibility criteria. Challenges. The major challenges to develop the PPT projects in India, there was a committee by Kelkar committee recommended that a PPP public-private partnership should not be used by the government to evade its responsibility for service delivery to citizens. This model should be adopted only after checking its viability for a project in terms of costs and risks. Then PPP must not be a shortcut only to save money or bridge fiscal gaps or transfer risk. It should be used to improve the service quality or bring efficiency improvement. Then come to the IBC, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. In late 2014, Minister of Finance set up a bankruptcy legislation reforms committee under the chairmanship of Dr. T.K. Vishwanathan, former Union Law Secretary, with the objective of building a full-fledged bankruptcy code. Based on the committee recommendation, the government introduced the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. The IBC 2016 addresses all these endeavors to prevent insolvency, provide a market determined and time-bound mechanism for resolution of insolvency wherever possible, along with facilitators for quick and effective resolution, and promotes age of exit wherever required. Then comes the concept of importance of IBC. The implementation of IBC has been one of the most important reforms in recent years. Banks and other creditors can now take the defaulting company to the National Company Law Tribunal to initiate insolvency proceedings. There is now a real chance that promoters can lose control and no longer in a position to take creditors for a ride. Then objectives of IBC. In Insolvency Bankruptcy Code, the objective is to promote entrepreneurship, ability of credit, balancing interests of all stakeholders by consolidating, amending laws relating to reorganization and insolvency resolution of corporate persons, partnership firms, and individuals in a time-bound manner, and not maximization of value of assets of such persons and matter connected therewith or incidental thereof. To simplify and expedite the insolvency and bankruptcy proceedings in India to protect the interest of creditors, including stakeholders in a company. Then come to the different components of IBC ecosystem. There is in the IBC ecosystem, there is several components. These are National Company Law Tribunal, Debt Recovery Tribunal, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. It has 10 members from Ministry of Finance, Law and RBI, Reserve Bank of India. 10 members. There is a different components which facilitated the PPT PPP improvement. It information utilities, persons involved with IPA, insolvency professional agency, and regulated by board, and IPA will conduct a resolution process. It act as a liquidator, bankruptcy trustee. They are appointed by creditors, override the powers of the board of directors. So what a board of directors हुए तादर किए रहती गोटे रहा 10 members like from Ministry of Finance, Law and RBI. Then adjudicating authority would by the NCLT for corporate insolvency to entertain and dispose any insolvency application, approve reject resolution plan, decide in respect of claims of matter of law, facts thereof. The committee will decide and facilitate it. And the committee will see, observe, then they will whether it is correct the plan or not. They will the application, they will approve or reject, or resolution plan there will be some change. They will decide, the 10 members from Ministry of Finance, Law and RBI. Salient features IBC. IBC proposes a paradigm, salient features paradigm from the existing debtor in possession to a creditor into control regime. The code aims to resolve insolvency in a strict time-bound manner, introduce a qualified insolvency professional, provides for the setting of Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, emphasis on symmetry of information between creditors and debtors by ensuring availability and access to essential information to all creditors by setting up information authorities as a depository of financial information. The code allows the corporate debtor itself to initiate the insolvency resolution process once it has defaulted on a debt. Then working of IBC. Implementation of the IBC is a real challenge. This is an innovative law awaiting correct execution. In 2019, with the Supreme Court upholding the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code in its entirety, the resolution process will move faster now. The success of the ambitious IBC is dependent on its institutions like regulator and adjudicating authority and the professional insolvency. Nevertheless, IBC 2016 is an evolving legislation, still being interpreted by courts and being constantly amended to harmonize IBC with our related legal policy. Then come to the Unit 9. Unit 9 is a important unit, that is inflation and monetary policy. Inflation and monetary policy, inflation and monetary policy are closely intertwined. Central banks are monetary policy tools and to control inflation, which is a sustained increase in the general price level of goods and services in the economy over time. Just I am giving a summary. To combat inflation, central banks employ several monetary policy tools, including interest rates, money supply, reserve requirements. Then inflation targeting. Many central banks, including the Reserve Bank of India, adopt inflation targeting as their monetary policy framework. This involves setting an inflation target, usually around of 2-4%, and using monetary policy tools to achieve it. Challenges in controlling inflation. Controlling inflation can be challenging due to various factors such as supply side shocks, demand flow inflation, and inflation expectations. Then come to the details. What is money? Then inflation and monetary policy. Inflation and money, it is an economic phenomena that has a realizable impact on the daily lives of every citizen. Inflation, simply put, refers to the rate of increase in the prices of commodities during a given period. Then what is money? First we will discuss about the money. Money is something that we encounter our daily lives. It is money. It is said, money, brighter than sunshine, sweeter than honey. Money is defined as anything that is generally acceptable as a medium of payment. Essentially, money serves three purposes. It acts as a store of value. It acts as a unit of account. It acts as a medium of exchange. You know better than myself what is money. Then how to, then come to the inflation. Inflation means in India, two major types of prices indices are used for calculating inflation. These are the consumer price index and the wholesale price index. Inflation means inflation is the rate of increase in the general price level over a period of time. However, it is not a straightforward to arrive at such a general price level, as in reality such a measure does not exist. Then then come to the causes of inflation. Inflation, you know, as we have seen, the quantity of money is an important determinant of the level of inflation in the economy. The monetarist Milton Friedman stated inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomena. There is a considerable agreement that in the long run, money supply growth can be seen as a major determinant of inflation. In the short run, however, fluctuations in the demand and supply conditions can have a major impact on the movement in the level of prices. Higher government spending. This is the causes of inflation. Then come to the objective of monetary policy in India. Policy in India, as the monetary authority of the country, the Reserve Bank of India formulates, implements, and monitors the monetary policy of the country. As per the preamble, the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934 the primary objective of the monetary policy is to maintain price stability while keeping in mind the objective of the growth. This is a direct consequence of the mandated function to regulate the issue of bank notes and keeping of reserves with a view to securing monetary stability in India and generally to operate the currency and credit system of the country to its advantage. Then, as you know, as we have seen, maintaining price stability is a crucially dependent on the money supply in the economy. A high level of inflation may have an adverse effect on the growth. Therefore, the objective is to maintain a low, stable level of inflation in the economy. Further achieving high growth in the economy requires that a credit flows to the most productive sectors of the economy. That is, it also a change in the policy rates by RBI, Reserve Bank of India. So changes in the lending rates of all the impact. Then evolution of monetary policy in India. There is some change in the evolution of Hello. From time to time, there is some evolution. So that in September 19, 2013, RBI set up an expert committee headed by its then Deputy Governor Dr. Urjit Patel with a view to strengthen the monetary policy framework oily, among other things, making it transparent and predictable. Then come to the there is a network problem.
Yes.
Hello, hello. There is a network problem here. Inflation targeting framework. There is, there is a committee recommended by the Patel Committee, RBI 2014, was a framework for monetary policy is called the Flexible Inflation Targeting Framework. Various economists published a monetary policy report explaining the resources of inflation and the forecast of inflation for the period of between 6 to 18 months from the date of publication of the document. Then a monetary policy committee was instituted to determine monetary policy. For this purpose, the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934 was amended by the Finance Act 2016. MPC, Monetary Policy Committee, MPC consists of 6 members, out of which 3 members are from RBI and other 3 appointed by the central government as nominated by the central government. The composition of MPC as follows: the governor of the bank, ex officio chairman, deputy governor of the bank, the charge of monetary policy, ex officio member, one officer of the bank to be nominated by the central board, ex officio member, and 3 persons to appointed by the central government members. The MPC is to meet at least 4 times in a year. That means the MPC is to meet at least 4 times in a year. The quorum for a meeting of MPC is 4, of which at least one is to be the governor, and in his absence, the deputy governor is a member of monetary inflation and monetary policy. Then capital market and its regulations. It is banking ru asila. It has actually in Indian economic policy paper, it has followed economic development, international trade, Indian economy. These are 3 into 1 Indian economic policy. Then come to the capital market and its regulations. Capital market and regulations. Just I am talking the gist. The capital market is a platform where companies raise funds by issuing securities such as shares, bonds, and debentures to investors. In India, the capital market is regulated by the Securities and Exchange Board of India (SEBI), which was established in 1992. Primary market. The primary market is where companies issue new securities to raise funds. This market is known as the new issue market. The secondary market is where existing securities are traded among investors. This market is also known as the stock market. The major players of this capital market and Bombay Stock Exchange and the National Stock Exchange are the 2 major stock exchanges in India. Brokers, the stock exchanges. Securities Contracts Regulation Act 1956. This act regulates the trading of securities in India. Insider trading regulations. SEBI has regulations in place to prevent insider trading and dematerialization. The dematerialization of securities has made it possible for investors to hold and trade securities in electronic form. Online trading, algorithmic trading has become increasingly popular, allowing investors to automate their trades based on predefined rules. Cryptocurrency regulations. SEBI has been working on regulations for regulations this trading in India. Then come to the details. Capital market and its regulations. In an economy for efficient allocation of resources from the surplus segments to deficit segments. The financial system consists of financial markets, financial intermediation, and financial products or instruments. A thriving and a vibrant economic system requires a well-developed financial structure with multiple intermediaries operating in the market with different risk profiles. Then capital market is an integral part of the financial market. The capital market is a market for financial assets which have a long or a definitely maturity. Capital market is broadly categorized into 2 parts, such as primary and secondary market. In the primary market, new stock or bond issues are sold through a mechanism popularly known as underwriting. The secondary market shares that have been issues are traded. Secondary market that have been issued are traded through organized exchanges such as stock exchanges over the counter. The are providing the facilities for buying and selling of the variety of financial claims and services. The corporations, financial institutions, individuals, and governments trade in financial products on these markets either directly or through brokers and dealers on a organized exchange or off exchange. The capital market participants on the demand and supply sides of these markets are financial institutions, agents, banks, brokers, dealers, lenders, savers, and others who are interlinked by the laws, contracts, covenants, and communication networks. The primary role of the capital market is to channelize investments from investors who have surplus funds to one who are running a will continue to be based on several principles. It mitigates risk in the financial system, efficiently allocate resources to the real sector, make the financial systems competitive globally, and open the external sector. The goal was to promote a diversified, efficient, and competitive financial system, which would ultimately improve the efficiency of resource allocation through operational flexibility, enhance financial viability, and institutional strengthening. Then there was a problem during the COVID-19 is shaping up to be significant. However, even across the Indian financial markets, this has reflected in terms of reduction in consumption demand, production and supply chain management investments, worsening of unemployment, reduction in the volume and recipients, export and import, consequently a reduction in the growth rate. There was this was happened during the COVID-19 period. Role and significance of functions of capital market. The capital market facilitates the transfer of capital assets from savers to investors. It provides a significant amount of liquidity, which refers to how easily an asset can be converted to currency without loss of value. The major functions of capital market include efficient dissemination of information, enabling quick valuation of financial instruments, providing insurance against market risk and price risk, enabling broad-based participation, providing operational efficiency, and through simplified transaction procedures, lowering settlement of timings, lowering transactional costs. All these have been included in this role and significance of functional capital role in this role. Then stock market development. To understand the role of a stock market is the process of socio-economic development process. Let us the stocks are also known as common stocks or requisites and represent a fractional ownership of the business a company, farm or industry. Stock markets have existed for centuries. Since its inception, the stock markets has served multiple purposes. The most important being to provide the companies with a means to raise capital for investment and operational expansion. It also helps investors, savers earn a return on their savings when they invest in the stock market, and allows firms to spread their risk by diversifying their business across sectors, assets, industries, and geographies. This way of raising capital can help companies to expand their operation alongside the creation of jobs in the economy. From the larger perspective of economies, the increase in employment increases purchasing power, and therefore consumer spending, production, and improves supply chain management. The government benefits from tax revenues to advance provisioning of public goods and thus economic growth and development. Apart from conducive fiscal and monetary policy, a stock market plays a pivotal role to promote investment activity in an economy. Then a developed stock market is considered as the major barometer of economic growth because it provides an additional channel. Then it ensures improvements in the productivity of an investment through the market allocation of capital, increase managerial discipline through the market for corporate control. Then stock market then Structure and performance of the stock market. On 19th January 2017, the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi ji, inaugurated Indian International Exchange Limited (IFC), India's first international exchange. BSE is the first stock exchange in India to receive approval from the SEBI on 26th September 2011 to launch small and medium enterprises platform. The platform facilitated capital raising by small and medium enterprises, including startup companies which are in their early stages of growth. It also provides easier entry and exit options for informed investors like angel investors, venture capital funds, and private equities, and equity financing, which lowers the debt burden, leading to lower financing costs and healthier balance sheet. However, the Indian stock market is dominated by Bombay Stock Exchange and a National Stock Exchange, which are occupying the 11th and 12th largest exchange in the world with the market capitalization world. Then all the stock indices except healthcare show negative returns and high volatility during the pandemic period. Among three major stock indices are then come to the equity derivatives in India. A derivative securities is a financial contract whose value is derived from the value of something, such as a stock price, a commodity price, and exchange rate, an interest rate, or even an index of prices. Derivatives may be traded for a variety of reasons. A derivative enables a trader to hedge some pre-existing risk by taking positions in derivative markets that offset potential losses in the underlying spot market. In India, most derivatives users describe themselves as a hedgers, and Indian laws generally require that derivatives be used for hedging purposes only. The third type of trader, called arbitrator, profits from the discrepancies in the relationship of spot and derivative prices, and thereby help to make market efficient. Then equity derivatives trading started in India in June 2000 after a regulatory process which stretched over more than 4 years. Then exchange traded on over-the-counter derivative instruments. Over-the-counter contracts such as forward and swaps are bilaterally negotiated between two parties. The term of an OTC contract are flexible and are often customized to fit the specific requirements of the user. OTC contracts have a substantial credit risk, which is the risk of the counterparty that owes money default on the payment. Then come to the currency derivatives market in India. Currency derivative is a contract between the seller and buyer, whose value is to be derived from the underlying asset, the currency amount. A derivative based on currency exchange rates in a future contract which stipulates the rate at which a given currency can be exchanged for another currency as at a future date. Foreign exchange derivatives are less active than interest rate derivatives in India, even though they have been around for longer. Over the counter instruments in currency, forwards and swaps are the most popular. Importers, exporters, and banks use the rupee forward market to hedge their foreign currency exposure. Turnover and liquidity in this market have been increasing, although trading is mainly in shorter maturity contracts of 1 year or less. In a currency swap, banks and corporates may swap its rupee denominated debt into another currency. Then long-term government bond and corporate debt market. The corporate bond and long-term government securities market is a vital segment of the capital market. The corporate bond market is at the budding phase in India. The corporate bond market remains restricted for participants, largely arbitrage driven and also highly illiquid. The lack of development is anomalous for two reasons. First, India has developed two world-class markets for equities and equity derivatives supported by high quality infrastructure. Second, the infrastructure for the bond market, particularly the government bond market, is similarly of high quality. Then come to the then this is the situation of monetary and fiscal capital market and its regulations. Globalization and financial liberation in India have ushered in a battery of changes in the financial architecture of economy. As a result of which, the resultant gain of the global integration of domestic and foreign financial markets has thrown open new opportunities, but at the same time exposed the financial system to significant risk. Then come to the fiscal policy. Fiscal policy. The summary, the fiscal responsibility and budget management. FRBM act as a crucial piece of legislation in India that aims to promote fiscal discipline and transparency in the country's financial management. Enacted in 2003, the act sets targets for the government to reduce its fiscal deficit, revenue deficit, and outstanding debt. Key objective of the FRBM, fiscal policy and fiscal responsibility and budget management act. Fiscal discipline, ensure fiscal discipline by limiting the fiscal deficit to 3% of the country's GDP by March 31st, 2021. Transparency, promote transparency in fiscal operations by requiring the government to present a medium-term fiscal policy statement, fiscal policy strategy statement, and macroeconomic framework statement. Then accountability, ensure accountability by mandating the creation of a fiscal responsibility and budget management committee to review the government's fiscal performance. Target and fiscal indicators. Fiscal deficit, limit the fiscal deficit to 3% of GDP by GDP. Revenue deficit, eliminate the revenue deficit and outstanding debt. Reduce the outstanding debt to 40% of GDP. The FRBM Act has undergone several amendments, including recommendations from the encassing committee to review the Act's performance and suggest changes overall. The FRBM Act plays a vital role in promoting fiscal responsibility and transparency in India's financial management. Then come to the detail. During the aftermath of the Great Depression in 1930s, British economist John Maynard Keynes first argued for the role of government to push the economy out of this slump. His book, The General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money, is the foundation of the Keynesian economies. Then this was the situation during the British period. Then there was much debate over economic policy in Great Britain at that time, focused on the disparity, desirability of government spending on public works as a cure for unemployment that we could now term as a expansive fiscal policy action. Keynes and others argued that such actions would increase output and employment. Such expenditures would act both directly and indirectly, because they would increase the income and hence consumer expenditure for those employed on the public works project, thus generating secondary employment. Major tools of fiscal policy. What are the major tools? Major tools for fiscal government spending. Change in government spending, revenue or capital expenditure that directly impacts the GDP and is often used as a counter-cyclical measure. Then taxes. Change in the taxes such as changes in direct and indirect taxes can influence the behavior of agents in the economy and therefore impact any GDP. Concept of fiscal policy. We define fiscal policy to encompass any decision to change the composition of or timing of government expenditure or to vary the burden, structure or frequency of tax payment. Government all around the world use fiscal policy tools as a counter-cyclical measure, stabilize the economy from cycles of boom and boost. Fiscal policy aims at using its three major instruments: taxes, spending, and borrowing, as balancing factors in the development of the economy. According to Arthur Smith, fiscal policy is a policy under which government uses its expenditure and revenue program to produce desirable effects and avoid undesirable effects on the national income, production, and employment. Fiscal policy consists of the use of taxes, government spending, and public debt operations to influence the economic activities of the community in desired ways, and is concerned with the allocation of resources between the public and private sectors and their use of the attainment of the stability and growth. Although the effects of fiscal policy are extensive, they are particularly measurable in areas such as employment, price stability, savings and investment, and the balance of payment. The prime aim of such policies is to maintain a high level of employment without inflation. Objectives of fiscal policy. Formulation of fiscal policy presumes the identification and clear recognition of the institutional aspects of government finance, such as tax system, tax incidence, and shifting, budget formulation, execution, and financial management. The focus of budgeting is on the attainment of efficiency in the allocation of resources within the public sector and is influenced at each stage by the goals of the fiscal policy. The changes in government income or expenditure have been designed to affect the level of activity in the economy as a whole. And the understanding of the fiscal policy is essential for gaining proper perspectives on the different aspects of budgeting. In the recent years, importance of a fiscal policy has increased. Recent years, the importance of fiscal policy has increased due to economic fluctuations. The budgetary fiscal policy can play a key role in the process of economic development. Mobilizing additional resources. Mobilizing additional resources, you know very well. Maintaining economic stability, allocating resources into socially necessary lines of development, reducing extreme inequality in income and wealth. There is a great gap between income and wealth, poor and rich. So fiscal policy has thus not one goal; it has a multiplicity of goals. Hence, they cannot be achieved by any one set of policies. There may be conflicts between some of these other goals, the stabilization goals, in the context of economic growth. The fiscal policy has to be so framed so as to avoid an inflationary pressure in the economy. Then come to the implications of fiscal policy. Fiscal policy is so wide-ranging that a selection of a combination of different objectives is both complex and controversial. The decisions that the government makes over fiscal policy can have important implications for business. In today's globalized economy, tax policy is not conducted in a vacuum. Taxes can influence the choices of both business and labor. Supply-side economists argue that economic activity is quite sensitive to changes in tax rates, particularly the highest marginal rates. Then the greatest obstacle to proper use of fiscal policy is that changes in the fiscal policy may be necessarily bundled with other changes that please or displease various stakeholders. Monetary and fiscal policies can be best understood in the context of the event that shape them. Such analysis can assist in choosing policies that improve rather than disrupt short and long-term economic performance. Then India's fiscal policy architecture. India adopted a federal form of governance post-independence period. The Constitution of India, Article 1 states that India, that is Bharat, shall be a union of states. The Indian Constitution provides the overarching framework for country's fiscal policy with the assignment of taxation powers and expenditures responsibility being divided between the union and state governments. The seventh schedule of the Constitution of India specifies the legislative domain of the union and state government in terms of three lists, namely union list, state list, and concurrent list. These lists represent the powers conferred upon the union government, state government, and share powers between the two respectively. Then fiscal policy during the 1990s until 1990. The formation of Planning Commission prompted by Prime Minister Nehru committee was announced the finance minister's budget speech in February 1950. Then the main fiscal impact of the planning process is the division of expenditures into planned and non-planned components. The planned components related to items dealing with the long-term socio-economic goals as they determine the ongoing planning process. They often relate to specific schemes and projects. Furthermore, they are usually routed through central ministers to state governments for achieving certain desired objectives. These funds are generally in addition to the assignment of central taxes as determined by the Finance Commission. In some cases, the state governments also contribute to their own funds to the schemes. Non-planned expenditure broadly related to routine expenditure of the government for administration, salaries, and the like, both non-planned and planned. The objective of the initial 5-year plans during the 1950s and 60s was mainly to become a self-sufficient nation and increase the growth rate of the economy through strengthening the public sector enterprise. Then, furthermore, the fiscal policy was geared towards achieving the economic objective of promoting employment through grant of tax incentives to new investment, reducing inequality through progressive taxes on income and wealth, reducing pressure on balance of payments through increase of import duties, and stabilizing prices through tax rebate in excise duties on consumption goods. Then come to the while the institutional arrangements are in place initially appeared adequate for driving the development agenda. But then come to the fiscal policy 1990 and onwards. The political uncertainty both domestic and abroad added to the existing fiscal deterioration of the country. Rising oil prices led to greater burden of the fuel subsidy along with the increasing external debt that eventually led to a balance of payment crisis in 1991. The crisis brought about the most important economic reforms which opened up the economy to private players both domestic and from abroad. To improve the falling tax receipts and to rationalize the tax structure, the tax reform committee was formed with the view to achieve set targets. The tax reforms committee concentrated on finding a suitable framework to reform both the direct and indirect tax structure in the economy. The committee recommended two major reforms on direct taxes. One was the simplification and rationalization of the direct tax structure. There was some change from time to time. There was a period, the introduction of service tax in 1994-95. Then there are tax reform plans. The share of the direct taxes overall revenue received started increasing from different years, and also nowadays there is an urgent need of some new fiscal discipline framework. After around 3 years of discussion, the Fiscal Responsible Budgetary Management Act was adopted in 2003. You know, the global financial crisis and fiscal policy. The global financial crisis that erupted around September 2008 saw Indian fiscal policy being tested to its limits. The policymakers had to grapple with the impact of the crisis that was affecting the Indian economy through three channels: contagion risk to the financial sector, the negative impact on export and the effect on the exchange rates. One could also add to this list the dampening of domestic business sentiments as a result of the deterioration in the prospects in developed countries in the wake of the global financial crisis. Somewhat expeditiously, the government already had an expansion of a fiscal stance in the view of a rural farm loan waiver scheme. The expansion of social security schemes under the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act and the implementation of revised salaries and pensions for the central servant as per the recommendation of the Sixth Pay Commission. They took some social security measures for rural areas. It's NRGA Act, NRGA, and expansion of some social security measures, old age pension, and also rural farm loan waiver. All these things which help in the development of a rural sector. From different time to time, there is a change. Then in 13th Finance Commission recommends that the center should institute a process of independent review and monitoring of the implementation of FRBMA. Accordingly, the Act was amended in 2012 to provide for the government entrusting a periodical review of compliances with the provisions of the Act to the Controller and Auditor General (CAG). The encasing committee, this is the review committee. In May 2016, Government of India constituted a 5-member committee to review the working and functioning of FRBMA. On January 23, 2017, the committee submitted a report to the Finance Minister. Its main policy recommendations are summarized below. Adopt a prudent medium-term selling for general government debt and with the overall selling specified above, and adopt fiscal deficit as the key operational target consistent with achieving the medium-term debt ceiling. A path of fiscal deficit with fixed operational targets rather than a range. Then also they adopted it. Then the timeline of the Act relevant development has given time. There is a timeline of development from January 2000 to March 2018. There is some different timeline for the changes has occurred of the FRBMA. Then come to the goods and services tax. GST. GST, goods and service tax, was rolled out across the country on July 1st, 2017. It replaced the several existing multiple taxes levied by the central and state governments. So, India adopted the dual GST model because of its unique federal nature. Under this model, tax is levied concurrently by the center as well as the states on a common sense. Supply of goods and services, both GST levied by the center would be called as a central GST, and that levied by the state would be called as a GST, and that levied by union territory without legislation will be called as a UGST. Then interstate transactions are imported goods or services An integrated GST is levied by the central government. GST is a consumption-based tax, destination-based tax. Therefore, taxes are paid to the state where the goods or services are consumed, not the state in which they are produced. Then, since its implementation, there has been a feeling among states that they have ceded more ground to the union government and that their freedom with regard to changing the rates of value-added tax. Their main source of revenue was entirely lost. Then the goods and services tax, which is replaced by the layers of multiple taxes levied by the central and state governments, have been introduced across the country since July 1st, 2017. Under the dual GST model, the tax is levied concurrently by the central as well as state on a common base, supply of goods or services or both. Then come to the major development in union development on union-state relations. Union-state relations. India is a union state, you know. The major developments in union-state relations in India have been shaped by various factors, including constitutional amendments, policy changes, and shift in the country's federal structure. 15th Finance Commission recommendation. The Commission recommendation have altered the criteria for revenue sharing, emphasizing population over the other parameters like fiscal discipline. Goods and services taxes. Introduction of GST has unified indirect taxes, but disputes over compensation payments to states have arisen. Niti Aayog, you know, Niti Aayog, Government of India, replacing the Planning Commission. Niti Aayog aims to foster cooperative federalism, but some states have expressed concern about the lack of financial allocation, farm laws, and agriculture. The introduction of farm laws has been criticized by passing states' authority on agriculture, or subjected traditionally within the state list under the Constitution. Measures to strengthen union-state relations, strengthening fiscal autonomy, ensuring timely GST compensations to its states, and reviewing the revenue sharing formula to address concerns about the fiscal autonomy. Cooperative federalism, empowering states to participate in decision-making process through institutions like Niti Aayog. Interstate councils, revitalizing the interstate council as a platform for dialogue and dispute resolutions. Decentralization, promoting decentralization in policy making, especially in areas like agriculture, education, and public health. Then come to the detail about the major development on union-state relations. Federalism refers to a system with more than one level of governance, each with some autonomy and decision-making powers. It is a political subject paper. As long as all levels have the authority to take some key decisions regarding revenue raising and spending public resources, basic conditions for fiscal federalism are satisfied. Even if political federalism may not exist, when characterized in this fashion, only the degree of fiscal federalism differs among nations. Even the formally unitary countries have aspects of it. This is because economic administration requires a minimum level of decentralization, some delegation of fiscal powers in the interest of efficiency. The primary reason for the widespread implementation of the principle of federalism, apart from the political aspects, is its suitability for realizing the economic benefits of both small and large size in the same administrative structure. The primary economic benefit of a large size is a large common market that allows scaled up production, with economies of scale as a also specialization, making production more efficient. The formation of the European Common Market has been cited as a good example of these benefits of larger size. At the same time, smaller jurisdictions have also the benefit of a better information availability, less divergence in tastes and preference, and easier administration in general. A formal statement of such benefits given by the theorem, which essentially states that the decentralized system of governance better caters to local preference and is therefore more efficient than a centralized system. These theoretical and prior insights are well supported in the case of India as a nation of its size and diversity appears to be well suited for a federal system. Let us we will discuss about the pillars of a federal finance. This is generally formalized in the constitution of the nation, but often history and conventions play a significant role in the determination of actual practices. The overall responsibility of the government can be broadly classified in the following three groups as per the Musgrave 1959: resource allocation, distribution of wealth and income, and stabilization of the economy. Of these first type of interventions that seeks to reallocate resources to various economic activities through fiscal tools are usually thought and actually found in the practice to be suitable for all levels of government, depending on the exact nature of the intervention. The other two are conceptually better suited to the national level government as a regional, local level policy initiatives can be defeated by inter-jurisdictional mobility of citizens or resources. Similarly, stabilization policy adopted by some national jurisdiction can be neutralized by contrary policies adopted by other jurisdictions. In general, when economic policies require uniformity across the nation to be effective in a federal system, it is better administered by the national government. Then public expenditure. The expenditure responsibilities are ideally assigned in such a way that the nature of the function maps closely the size of the jurisdiction. In contrast, public lighting is a very much local public goods in nature and hence best allocated to the government units. Regional level public goods can be assigned to state governments, and if a particular public good doesn't map well into the predefined jurisdictions, even special purpose of sub-national special agencies can be created, school districts. Apart from the economic efficiency argument of the decentralization theorem related to the greater cognizance of local variations in demand and public services, the correspondence of benefit area with the decision-making jurisdiction internal says costs and benefit of public services avoids distortions and suboptimal decisions and suboptimal decisions. Then come to the revenue sources. Then revenue sources. As per the revenue raising concern, primary redistributed taxes like personal income tax are generally assigned to the national level. Modern corporations are large entities with business operations across the nation and prevent tax distortions in location and other business decisions causing inefficiency. Corporate taxation is also usually assigned to national governments. Taxes on foreign trade are also assigned to the national government as a uniformity required across the nation. As per the original scheme of the constitutional assignment, is most large federal system including India, indirect or commodity taxes were distributed among different levels. In India, union government levied the union excise duty on production. The states levied sale tax, and the other local bodies could levy octroi duty. Then, in contrast to the broad-based taxes like income tax or VAT, there are some revenue sources, the base of which are less mobile and are therefore suited for sub-national governments. Then come to the correcting the imbalances intergovernmental transfer. The vertical and horizontal imbalances occurred in most of the federal fiscal systems have to be resolved. In the interest of the stability of the system, equalization is a constitutional requirement in some countries and in some others, a legal obligation. It can also be motivated by the tradition, convention, or an implicit general agreement or a common will as expressed by the legislation. This mechanism for resolution should be a part of the system to obviate the need for repeated consideration of policy initiatives for such resolution. In general, these requirements being met by intergovernmental transfer is a common feature in all systems of federalism, including India. Apart from resolving the vertical and horizontal imbalances, intergovernmental transfers also be serve other purposes, like compensating for benefit spillovers across jurisdictions to maintain efficiency, to pay services. This each of these motives for intergovernmental transfers has been explained of different types, and their designs are often influenced by the objective of the grants. There is some grant may be taken into account in the budget outcomes documents. Grants are reported broadly institutional channel. The first class between land grants and non-land grants. Without this continuous Hello. Whether it is audible? Hello. Huh. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Federal is one system having more than one level of distributed among the different layers of the government. The overall responsibility of the government are classified into three groups: resource allocation, distribution of wealth and income, and stabilization of the economy. The fiscal operation of the government, revenue raising, and public expenditures at different levels play a significant role in discharging the above responsibilities. Apart from the government, the institutional structure relating to fiscal federalism in India involves primarily the Finance Commission, and the GST Council, Council and the central and state levels, and a lesser extent the Niti Aayog. The Constitution provides for appointment of a Finance Commission every 5 years or earlier with a set of terms of reference. The constitutionally mandated tax at a present include inter alia sharing of central tax revenue with the states, recommending grants in aid to individual states to cover revenue deficit for onward transmission of local bodies, for meeting natural calamities and for any other reason at its discretion. State Finance Commission are appointed by the state governments to deal with the state local financial relations, mainly fiscal transfers from the state government to the local bodies. The fifth Finance Commission appointed in November 2017 and its full report has been presented, and also he has given some recommendations: centralization and a vertical imbalance, regional inequality, and a horizontal imbalance difficulties being faced by lower income states in borrowing and investing beyond the prescribed limits due to FRBM set. Widening disparities are issues of concerns with the present design of fiscal federalism. With some states, some states are developed. All the coastal states are developed except Odisha. There is some lack of problem, and also some states which are surrounded by high natural resources but inhabited by the poor people. This is the condition. So that let us come to the discussion about the Unit 13 agriculture issues, concerns, policy and program initiatives. It is a very good unity, that is agriculture. Then come to the Unit 13. Agriculture is an important part of every state. Agriculture is the backbone of a rural area. It is the primary method whereby fruits and vegetables are provided to feed people and animals. Agriculture is a vital part of the global economy and has important benefits for society. Strong agriculture sectors in the state can lead to a high level of health and a standard of living in the state. Agriculture in Odisha context is very essential area, agriculture development in the Odisha context. There is a need of irrigation facilities, input to supply, and seeds and other inputs supply, and also the farm mechanism. These leads to agriculture development. Agriculture, food, we may say food first and food for the future, from consumption to the marketing, from farm to plate. These are sayings in agricultural context. Agriculture is a vital sector in India, but is facing numerous challenges. Some of the major concerns include land related issues, loss of agricultural land due to erosion, fragmentation, and urbanization. You know, everywhere there is a some it is going on. There is agricultural land converted to house to homestead land, and also in the name of infrastructure development, there is a there is a decreasing of agricultural land, like roads and other infrastructure development, industrialization, and also port development, and also there is airport development. In the name of development, the land, agricultural land has been decreasing day by day. Water management, inefficient irrigation systems, water scarcity, and poor water harvesting practices. You know, water management is very low. Irrigation first. Irrigation is the major source of agricultural development. You know, Indravati project, Kolahandi district, suppose you may take it as a Kolahandi district was the museum pieces of a poverty study. Kolahandi means poverty, we may think, but nowadays it has changed some extent due to Indravati irrigation facilities. It is covering the Kolampur, Joypatna, Koksara, Junagadh, Dharmagad, and Norla, and other blocks covering more than 7 blocks that major irrigation is covering. By which the agriculture development has increased. Water management. Likewise, inefficient irrigation system, water scarcity, and poor water harvesting practices occurred in agriculture. Then soil health, decline in soil fertility, increasing salinity, and soil erosion. Then climate change. Agriculture is a risk in climate change. From beginning to end, there is a risk. Rising temperature, changing weather patterns, increased frequency of natural disasters like flood, drought, then cyclone. Then market fluctuations, unpredictable market prices, lack of market access, and inadequate storage facilities. There is a lack of packing, grading, standardization, storage, lack of power facilities, and also there is a lack of other facilities like a go down. Then credit and finance, limited access to credit, high interest rates, and inadequate insurance coverage. Then technological adoption, low adoption of modern technologies, inadequate extension services, and limited access to quality inputs. But to some extent, there is some development, technology adoption, farm mechanization also increased. And also in KBK, they are giving training, mushroom cultivation, beekeeping, horticulture, agriculture, fisheries, and also other development, livestock development, like goatry, dairy, and then poultry. They are giving trainings in KBK. There is a technological adoption has increased, and also there is some access to quality inputs, other inputs like seeds, fertilizers, and other things. To address these concerns, the government has launched several policy and program initiatives. Government of India, Government of Odisha has changed several policies. Agriculture policy has been changed. They are supporting to the farmers. Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana focuses on improving irrigation infrastructure, water conservation, and efficient water use. You know, Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai in different level, solar energy they are supporting, and also soil health card schemes. Mobile soil health testing facilities has been initiated in KBK area and also in different tribal areas. giving soil testing, fertilizer recommendations, and promotes sustainable soil management practices. Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana offers crop insurance to protect farmers against crop fertilizers, crop failures, natural disasters, and market fluctuations. Then, National Agriculture Market aims to create a unified national market for agriculture commodities, improving market access and a price discovery. Then Agriculture Technology Management Agency also promotes the adoption of modern agriculture technology, extension services, and the quality inputs. Then come to the details. Agriculture is agriculture as a sector has contributed significantly in the process of India's development in a number of ways. Contribution to national income, largest employment provider sector, and provision of food surplus to the expanding population. Then providing raw materials to industries, market for industrial products, commercial importance. These are the main future role and relevance of agriculture sector contribution. Agriculture production and productivity after independence. The two major crops grown are food grains and non-food grains. Food crops include rice, wheat, bajra, small millets, cereals, gram, pulses, vegetables, and fruits. While non-food crops include oilseeds, groundnut, linseed, rapeseed, and mustard and Nigeria, and fiber crops cotton, jute, and mesta. Then also sugarcane, tobacco, plantation crops like tea, coffee, and rubber, condiments, and spices. The food crops contribute to about 2/3 of total agriculture production. The most important commodity in the food grain category is wheat, followed by rice. In non-food grains category, oilseeds and constitute the most important group, followed by sugarcane and cotton. The different levels of trends has increased in food grains production with the considerable annually considerable time. Annually, it has been developed through of major crops, and a government has a planned program and giving support from time to time. The trends in productivity. The agriculture production depends on only on the area, but also on the productivity of land. It shows the relationship between inputs and output. The agriculture productivity can be classified in two categories: agriculture productivity per hectare and agriculture productivity per worker. Trends in productivity per hectare of major food grains and non-food grains crops after independence has increased. The yield per hectare of all food grains has increased. The most significant increase in productivity has increased in jowar and bajra recorded in rice and wheat. The productivity of maize cotton has increased in different years. Adoption of hybrid maize and varieties of BT cotton since 2002 is in most areas of the country. Causes of stagnation in agriculture growth in India. Deceleration in agriculture investment. Capital formation is necessary for improving long-term growth potential in agriculture. There is a need of capital formation. Then inadequate irrigation coverage and falling productivity of irrigation food grains. Inadequate, I told that gave an example of Kolandi. Due to irrigation facilities, there is some agriculture development changes occurred. Inadequate irrigation cover most of the crops is an important constraining factor in speedy adoption of improved technology. Economic survey released by Ministry of Finance have highlighted only 40% of gross cropped area was under irrigation. and which has increased only around 49% in 2016 and 17. It has increased nowadays. Share of public expenditure on irrigation and flood control to total public expenditure has declined over years. Share of public expenditure on irrigation and flood control. Irrigation coverage across the states is quite skewed. Distribution of irrigation facilities across the crops is equally skewed. These are the inadequate irrigation facilities productivity. Jha and Acharya, 2011, examined trends in the policies that govern public expenditure on agriculture and rural development, including expenditure on irrigation and flood control in post-independent period. Their study classified this period into 3 pages: the first page, the second page, and the third page. The third page, which begins with the liberalization of the economy in 1990, and the second page is from 1970 to 1980, and the first page is 1960. The lower irrigation cover for various crops has led to severe rainfall dependency. One finds a high correlation between production and rainfall for pulses and oilseeds. Failure to evolve and adapt to new technologies. India was able to avail of the potential of seed fertilizer technology because of a favorable international research collaborations. However, the country has failed to make a major breakthrough in frontal areas like biotechnological research. In India, public funding for agriculture research and education is contributing by the center and state with 55.4% to total contributed by the center, 44.6% by states. Lack of investment in research and technology in agriculture has resulted in the non-availability of any new costs, reducing technology in agriculture, and has led to declining input efficiency. One of the main reasons for the low levels of yields in Indian agriculture has been the unsatisfactory spread of new technological practices, including high-yielding varieties of seeds and usage of fertilizers and pesticides, and inadequate spread of farm management techniques and other practices such as soil conservation and crop rotation. Nowadays, there is some change in agriculture context. There is some crop diversification. You have to understand. Then the crop diversification, it is commercialization of agriculture nowadays. It is going on tendency. That is the agriculture, horticulture, livestock, fishery, beekeeping, mushroom cultivation, and also other components included in crop diversification, commercialization. Shrinking farm size. Thus, shrinking size of the average land holding of an Indian farmer has held back agriculture productivity, and there is not much that can be done about this. Due to smaller holding size, majority of Indian farmers find it difficult to access institutional credit, access to new technology, adopt more efficient form of farm practices, and obtain more capital investment for land development. There is some non-availability of inadequate credit from formal sectors. Shantanu De Rai, 2017, using the data from RBI's Handbook of Statistics for Indian Economy, computed the trends in opening of new rural branches and credit deposit ratio in rural areas, and shares of private sector and agriculture in total outstanding credit of commercial banks. These are the he has pointed out to different in going through the RBI handbook. He has given some he had given some suggestions. Then imbalance in the use of fertilizer. There is imbalance due to lack of soil testing. Ineffective minimum support prices. Minimum support of prices are declared prior to each sowing season in June and October, so that farmers are aware of the minimum price of the government will offer for their produce. As per a report by the Niti Aayog, a lower portion of the farmers were aware of MSPs before the sowing season. 62% of the farmers were informed of MSPs after sowing their crops. The pricing policy of MSPs would be effective only if farmers are aware of it at the time of deciding what crops to grow. The government in MSP, there is a great role of the government, state government and central government. There is going very. It is a political issue nowadays. Government of government fixed the MSPs and the farmers wants for increase of the message and lower the middleman, minimization of a middleman and mediums of dissemination of the information must be strengthened. Then inadequate ability of and access to quality seeds. Then in quality seeds, nowadays indigenous seeds, high-yielding varieties of seeds and hybrid seeds. Quality seeds are another input for necessary for agricultural productivity and good quality seeds. There is a need of good quality seeds. The private sector also started playing a role in supplying some seeds such as hybrid seeds of sunflower, maize, rice and bajra and cotton. The cost of high yielding varieties is too high for marginal small farmers to afford, thus disincentivizing them from purchasing the varieties. They have no money to purchase this type of hybrid and high yielding varieties of seeds. Farm mechanization major challenges. Mechanization also aspect with a significant impact on agricultural productivity. It makes activities such as tilling, spreading of seeds, fertilizer and harvesting more efficient, so that the cost of inputs is offset. It can also make the use of labor in agriculture more cost effective. The status of mechanization in agriculture varies for different activities. Some challenges faced by the farm mechanization include different soil and climate zones, which require customization of farm machinery, small holdings with the access to resources. To increase productivity, farm equipment which is durable, lightweight and low cost, and also specific to different crops and regions should be made available for small and marginal farmers. Now, Government of India and the Government of Odisha context and state level also, they have taken so many initiatives for farm mechanization. In farm mechanization, you know that so many tractors, power trailers, and also harvesters, combine harvesters, and also there is a there is a risk in agriculture from beginning to India. There is a need of a farm mechanization nowadays. Small agricultural implements has been developed for small and marginal farmers. They can use it and produce more. And farm mechanization is a major component for the agricultural productivity. Post harvest activities, inadequate storage facilities. There is need of after harvestment there is need of storage. Nowadays that storage has been increased. The housing, household level and also the government level, there is a increase of storage facilities. Still then there is inadequate in tribal areas, and also there is a lack of post-harvest activities, packing, grading, standardization, value addition and other things. There is a need of a middleman's role and a company role, whereas the government should take a more initiative for the promotion of these activities. The detail, the post-harvest activities, in Indian agriculture continues to face challenges, some new and some old, such as a declining availability, quality of soil, water, and other natural resources, decreasing size of farm holdings, inefficient use of inputs, and their increasing costs, scarce and more costly agricultural labor, drudgery in farming operations, growing risks in farming at all its stages from pre-production to production to marketing, increasing information gap, knowledge gap and skill gap, poor access to credit and investment, slow diffusion of relevant technology, competitiveness of quality and price domestic and export markets, inadequate focus on processing and value addition, inadequate rural infrastructure, regional imbalances, problem in retailing rural youth in agriculture, poor access to resources and services for women in agriculture, weak institutions, subsystem, linkages and convergence, extreme events of climate change. These are the following poster. There is a need of there is these are the challenges faced by the farmers. Nowadays in Odisha context, that has been changed. This type of work, this type of mentality has been changed. In Odisha context, there is a great change. There is a great change in context to input to seeds, fertilizer, soil health. The government of Odisha has taken so many initiatives, but in some states they are lacking behind it. In Indian context, northeastern states like seven sisters, Meghalaya, Manipur, Tripura, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, and Sikkim, and other states of northeast, they are lacking very behind. So these are the challenges faced in the Indian agriculture. So let us, the time is over now. Tomorrow we'll discuss transformation of Indian agriculture strategy for development in 1951 to 2002 and then onwards. Now the time is over, and we'll stop the session. Thank you all. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.